Good morning, everybody. Time to change gears like we like to do every couple weeks on this channel and discuss the Seattle Mariners. So, since we last checked in, we've played a 10 game stretch that I don't think encouraged very many people. I think the perception of this team right now is worse than it was when we were at 30 games. I'll put it that way. We are 17 and 23, and by the way, this page has not been updated with the results of last night's game, but we are 17 and 23. We are fourth place in the division. The odds of us making anything good out of this season are starting to slip away, and I'm in the Facebook groups. I'm on Twitter. I can see the fans start to get a little fed up with all this and starting to really turn on all aspects of this team, particularly the guys at the top. And look, I totally get it. I get the frustration. I understand that people need to vent. People are disappointed. I can't blame them. I will acknowledge that for my part, I don't come to such harsh conclusions so quickly. So this is not the video to watch if you are just looking for red meat of talking about firing Scott Servais or firing Jerry DePoto. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't compute with me. We're not here to talk about that. And even if I felt like I wanted to do those things, they just got extended. It's not happening. So I think talking about it is kind of a waste of time. And I also think that at the end of the day, yes, these guys are not perfect. Yes, they have made mistakes, but they have also done a lot of things right. And it wasn't that long ago that we were a very low talented team that somehow managed to win 90 plus games last year, partially because of guys like Servais and DePoto making it work. So I'm I'm not here to talk about that, but the last 10 games were not fun for the most part. We took a couple on the Mets, which was big, but it doesn't really mean anything if you can't find a way to then get on a hot streak, and we clearly haven't. Um, Looking at this team, obviously, I think the most generalized disappointment is with the offense, the bats, but Robbie Ray is also a significant issue right now. He's not pitching up to standard, not even close. And the bullpen is a wreck right now. So I guess what I'm saying is there's no one part of this team that you look at and go, oh, yeah, they're doing their job. So let's start with the offense. Let's just look at the players here and try to piece this together because I think it's important that people do understand. And I know people are sick of hearing about it, but the truth is what it is, right? So here's the thing. Offense in the major leagues is down right now. It's offense right now in the MLB is not in a great shape. And because of that, if you look at some of our players who seem like they're not playing well, you might be surprised at how well they're actually playing compared to their contemporaries across Major League Baseball. Looking at our offense, obviously you've got the big hitters, Ty France. Crawford has cooled off, but overall he's still having a very good season that is far exceeding my expectations. Hitting 300, ops plus of 152. Winker is getting rounding into form. He's having a much better May than he did April, I guess you could say. And well, okay, we started late, so I don't know if I should say that, but he is playing much better now than he was earlier. Julio, a lot of strikeouts, but he's playing well. He's coming along. He's doing his thing. No complaints about what Julio's giving us. It's anybody who expected more than this from a 21-year-old rookie is out of pocket. Frazier's playing better. Toro, I'm not going to say he's playing good yet, but he is actually adding some pop to the lineup that I didn't think he would be able to. Torrens, still not there, but he's starting to at least play better. Hopefully he can start hitting for a little bit of pop, hit some home runs, because that was one of the things that made him a league average hitter last year. So some of these guys are starting to come around, and we have a full fleet of guys who should be able to hit. Like when you compare them to their contemporaries in the league, it's pretty good. So what is the reason that the offense is not producing? Or is the offense producing and we're just kind of blind to it for some reason? So understanding that the players are not really playing badly. Like you can look at them and go, okay, Winker had a disastrous start, but he's starting to turn into the player that we were expecting when we got him. His ops plus is going, north at a very rapid pace. He'll probably be up to league average by the end of the month and beyond going into June. And even Dylan Moore, who obviously we're all hard on because it's kind of it's kind of funny and it's kind of endearing, but also we don't think he's good. His ops plus is 129. So what is the reason that we're watching these games and we're so dissatisfied with the offense? So I decided to look into it numerically and statistically because in baseball, if you can't determine something using stats and numbers, it probably doesn't exist. If you think X is true and you can't find a number to back up Y, you probably need to go back and work from a assumption that X is actually not true. So let's look at the Mariners' offense overall in terms of runs scored. They are below average. League average is 158. The Mariners are 152. Now, do we as Mariners fans feel like our team is 6 runs across 39 games below average? We're talking about fractions of a run per game. And I understand that a lot of baseball games are close and 1 or 2 runs make a significant difference. Maybe those 6 runs would have resulted in 2 more wins, right? But it doesn't feel that way, does it? Watching this offense, which often feels hopeless, I don't sit there thinking like, oh, I feel like this offense is a little below average. No, I feel like they are one of the worst in the league. So in terms of runs scored, they're not. There are many offenses that are clearly below their abilities in that area. So, okay, batting average. They are slightly below average in batting average. OBP, they are actually well above average in OBP. Well, I shouldn't say well above, but a decent chunk above average in OBP. Slugging, their slugging is marginally below average. Ops, slightly above average. OPS, 7% above the league average. So, in most of these metrics, the Mariners are average or slightly better than average as an offense. So my next thought was, oh, it has to be runners in scoring position. We're getting runners on base. We're hitting for decent average. We're doing all these things right. Our ops plus is good, but we don't get it done with runners in scoring position. No. I pulled up runners in scoring position so far this season. We are at 263, which is 13th, about league average. And I know people don't want to hear about this either, but when you barely get anything from Mitch Haniger, he's not played very much this season, when you haven't gotten anything from Kyle Lewis yet, and I know we were expecting that, but still he projects to be one of our top 10 batters. And you put those two things together, and you're probably like, okay, I'll take above average. So what is it that we're not doing? The only thing I could find was this. We are 3rd in the league in runners left on base, 282. So we are leaving tons of runners on base. We are... I'm not 100% sure what that average is out to because these numbers don't include from tonight's game against the Red Sox, but it's 7 or 8 runners left on base, which kind of weird, right? We're pretty good with runners in scoring position. We're slightly above average. So I guess the lesson here is that we're leaving a lot of runners on first. They get to first, so they get left on base, but they're not in scoring position. I guess, right? And, we're 40 games in. It's not the hugest sample size ever, but that's kind of what I take from it. So I guess we're stranding a historic number of runners on first base. That's what I'm taking away here. So that's the best I can do. But anyway, what I'm trying to say with all this is we have a perception that our offense is atrocious, and I feel that way too watching them. And the only thing I can find that backs that up statistically would be how many runners we leave on base. And again, it's not a hitting with runners in scoring position thing. I think some of it might be we're slow on the base paths, so we don't get a lot of runners scoring from second on a single. They hold it third because they're not fast enough to actually get around the corner to home. That's probably some part of it. That counts as a hit with a runner in scoring position, but it doesn't score the run. There's probably a lot of little things that go into that, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. It's very weird to look at these numbers and conclude that our offense is actually, for the most part, average to slightly above average. But to me, the real problem, like the actionable problem here, is how many at-bats we waste, especially in recent games. How many times over the last several weeks have we had a big at-bat with like runners in scoring position, chance to break the game open, chance to come back, chance to break a close game, whatever. And we've got runners on in scoring position, and somebody like Mike Ford or Steven Souza Jr. or even Cal, who I like Cal. I understand that he's a developmental guy that we're hoping will turn into something, and we're still trying to see if we can figure this out with him. But when that happens, I just want to turn the channel. I think we've had at least one game this year where the 7-8-9 was Ford, Souza, and Cal. I just want to turn the channel when that happens. I'm like, I know what's going to happen here. And to those of you who are mad at Dipoto, that's something that I can totally get behind. How did you let this happen? I understand that Haniger's hurt and you can't plan for that in entire like look, Haniger is one of your best players. If he gets hurt, you're going to be hurting. That's just, it is what it is. I know he's injury prone, but you are betting a decent chunk of your season on a guy like him if you're going to have him. I know that you haven't gotten anything from Kyle Lewis yet. I know Murphy got hurt. I understand these things. I know Kelnick took a big step back and hasn't been very effective at the plate at all. And hopefully that situation can be fixed. I think people do need to understand Kelnick is 22 years old. But all that being said, the fact that this team has gotten into situations where they have lineups where you've got Souza, Ford, Cal, basically automatic outs in the 7-8-9. And by the way, I think one of those games we had Toro leading off, who is, I don't hate Toro. I don't feel hopeless when he's at the plate like I do somebody like Ford or Souza. But the bottom line is, Toro is hitting a $171. He should not be batting leadoff, especially when the back end of your lineup is already so weak. It just makes it feel like it's hopeless to score. And you combine this with some other stuff too. Like, we're not hitting a ton of home runs. It feels like so far this year, there hasn't been a lot of pop. I feel like we went 3 or 4 games in a row with no home runs. It is so hard for this team to manufacture runs right now. We're not good at it. The lineup eventually gets to a point where we just have guys coming up with no chance. We have to hit some home runs so we can get runs without having to work for it. And lately, there just hasn't been a ton of pop. I think it's getting a little better lately. Toro is helping because he's actually starting to hit with some pretty decent power. I think he has 6 home runs now. Obviously, Suarez, one of the best home run hitters in the league. But there were extended stretches where we were just not getting any power hits. And I think that really hurt. We needed to get some balls over the fence to make it less important that our 7-8-9 was so pathetic for a while there. But anyway, that was like 12 minutes on the offense. I can see where they can be good, and a lot of these guys are probably better than we're giving them credit for. Frazier's playing a lot better. Winker's playing a lot better. There's a good lineup in here somewhere, especially if Torrens can start heating up a little bit, which he kind of is. But I'm just, I don't know. I don't know if I see it happening. We need some things to go our way now, and it's not statistically likely. So that's the offense. The pitching is somehow actually starting to become the bigger problem for this team. I mean, if you look at our ERA, it is now above 4, and apparently we are lucky it's not higher because their FIP is 4.26. So we have a significant, now not hugely, but non-trivially below average ERA as a club. And if you take a look at our pitchers right now, it's coming from a few different places. The only starter that I'm angry at right now is Robbie Ray, because he is not living up to that contract at all. 6 or 7 times this year he's just had the disaster inning, the inning where he has no control. I gave him a pass for the first one because it was raining. And the second one, honestly, like, we scored 1 run that game. How can I blame it on Robbie Ray when we scored 1 run? But every game, he just has 1 inning where he completely loses control. Everything just blows up in his face. And it's not what we paid $125 million for. Right now, Robbie Ray has a higher ERA than anyone else in our starting rotation. His ERA is significantly higher than Marco, who I was kind of leaving for dead just a week or 2 ago. Shout out to Marco, by the way, pitching awesome. But that is not what we paid $125 million for, and I gotta tell you, I'm already starting to have buyer's remorse there. I'm wondering if maybe there was a better way to invest that money in. But all that said, it's not like Robbie Ray is getting us murdered in these games. Like last night against the Red Sox, great example. He has the disaster inning. He's got 2 on, 2 outs. Trevor Story's on deck. So I'm watching thinking like, okay, he's got to get this guy out here. He's got to put this guy down so that way Trevor Story's leading off with the bases empty next inning, because Lord knows we've had problems dealing with Trevor Story in this series. And Robbie Ray walks him on 4 pitches. None of them are close. It's insane. And then he gets Trevor Story to a 1-2 count, and then they annihilate the Green Monster. It's like, really? You're our ace, and this is what we're getting from you? I wouldn't even expect George Kirby to do that. 24-year-old rookie George Kirby. I wouldn't expect him to do that, but you're doing that, our supposed ace? So, yeah, Robbie Ray makes me mad frequently because he's getting paid way too much and he's too good to just be getting smacked around in 1 inning every start he makes almost. But it's not like he's getting us completely blown out of the water. Other than that, the rotation has been mostly good. Flexen's the unluckiest man in the world. I'm not going to say that Flexen is pitching great. He's not, but he's pitching well enough to keep us in games, and we just never score for him. Logan Gilbert's been great. Marco's really settled down. Kirby has looked impressive. He's obviously given up some stuff. Of course he's going to, but his stuff is great. He's really kept a good lid on things. I think he gave up, 4 runs to the Red Sox or something, and then there was that substitution snafu. The starting rotation is good. I think that, not that you can do this, but if you actually looked at Robbie Ray as our number 5, and you went, okay, Logan's number 1, Marco's the number 2, Kirby's the number 3, Flexen's the number 4, Ray's the number 5, you're like, okay, that's a good rotation. Now, you can't look at it like that. Ray is supposed to be the ace, and we know that Kirby's probably going to have a couple bad games because he's so young and he's so new. The dude didn't even get to play at Tacoma, but it's not really the starting rotation overall. I think most of the issues with this big ERA, the reason why we're starting to give up these, why we have a losing record despite having a nominally above average offense, it's starting to turn into the bullpen. And to me, this is the area of the team that I'm most concerned about, and it's the area that I would not mind addressing with a trade. Okay? Sewald is good. I know he blew that 1 game against the Rays, but Sewald's good. And then after that, I don't know. What's his name? Swanson on the DL, IL. No guarantee he comes back and he's still effective. He was pitching great, but we don't know what he's going to come back and be able to do. It was like elbow inflammation. So that's not good. Other than that, who else in this bullpen are we really trusting right now? Murphy's pitched well, but we clearly don't want to put all our eggs in that basket. I guess Romo has pitched fairly well so far, but it's a tiny sample size, 5 games. Steckenrider, not reliable. Castillo, don't make me laugh. Munoz, his numbers are not terrible, but he does get smacked around sometimes. Mizey Wise or Anthony, well, I'm going to keep calling him an Anthony Sandwich. Numbers are not bad, but no, just no, I don't trust him at all. It has become such a thin bullpen without Sadler and now possibly without Swanson. We have one guy who I trust, and it's Sewald. And Sewald, he's I like Sadler more, so I it's not good. Murphy, if he ends up being reliable, great, but I need more. So, if you want to know what I would do to maybe throw a little water on this fire, I would make a trade for a bullpen arm. Somebody who I can trust, kind of like what you did with Castillo last year, but hopefully better than Castillo. And by the way, I know that Castillo's ERA is inflated because we put him in garbage time and he gave up a bunch of meaningless runs. But even if you take those runs out, like, I don't trust him. Like, maybe he's okay. He has his moments. He can do some things pretty well. If you give him like a 3 or 4 run lead, you can feel pretty good about him getting the save. But I'm not going to feel good throwing him out there in a 1-run situation. So we need bullpen help. That's my main focus right now. That to me is going to become a bigger problem than the offense or the starting rotation. So that's how I'm looking at things right now. Maybe you call Matt Brash up to be a bullpen arm, but he doesn't seem like he's ready. So hopefully there's somebody out there you can go get. That's my read. The offense, look, let's see what they look like when Kyle Lewis gets up. Let's see what they look like, by the way, when Tom Murphy gets back. And I know Tom Murphy's going to cool off, but he's playing really well before he got hurt. So let's see what the offense looks like when we get those guys back. Starting rotation, it's not what I wanted it to be. But on the whole, can we really say they're underperforming? I don't think so. But that bullpen, I don't trust none of them except for Sewald. And I don't trust him that much. All right, long video, but we only talk about the Mariners once every couple weeks. So I wanted to try to calm people down a little bit while also admitting that this isn't what we were sold. And right now, I think it's fair to say that Dipoto probably should have signed one more big bat like Trevor Story because of how thin the lineup is some nights, or improve the depth more than guys like Souza Jr. and Ford. But I'm not giving up yet. I don't think anybody should. We still get to play a lot of games against Athletics. Remember, we haven't played them yet this year. We're going to be able to farm wins on that team because they are much worse than we are even right now when we're a little bit of a wreck. So that's all I can offer right now. There are 122 games left. I'm not going to stop watching yet. Sometimes it's very frustrating to watch this team. I get it. I know people are upset. I understand, but let's let this play out. All right, go Mariners. See you guys later. Probably catch me on Twitch tonight. Go Hawks. Go Mariners.